For anyone who's just joined, I'm Adia Depitan and I'm your host for Big Bang Digital today. There are lots of ways to get involved today, so make sure you get in on the poll action. Post about the event on social and have a look at Big Bang Explore, where you can do our Meet the Future You quiz and get in on the chance of winning Amazon vouchers. Now, it's time to meet the team from Rolls-Royce who are going to show us some mind-blowing sustainable power solutions. And I'll be back for the Q&A, so make sure you get your questions in too.
Our world is changing. More people, more demand for power. But to combat the growing threat of climate change, this power must be compatible with net zero carbon emissions. At Rolls-Royce, we believe in the positive transforming potential of technology to meet this challenge. We pioneer the power that matters, power that is central to the successful functioning of the modern world, operating in some of the hardest parts of the global economy to decarbonize. We have a crucial role to play in enabling the industries we support achieve the breakthroughs needed to reach net zero. Shaping not only the way we travel, but how we power our buildings, how we protect ourselves, and even how we produce energy. There is no one single solution to combating climate change. It's going to take everyone. We have already pledged to achieve net zero carbon emissions from our own operations by 2030. But we are now going even further. The solutions we are creating today will help the industries we support achieve the technology breakthroughs they need to become net zero carbon by 2050, accelerating the global transition to net zero, creating a brighter future for all by pioneering the power that matters for the world of tomorrow.
When we started this year, no one could possibly have imagined the challenges it was going to bring. The pandemic has brought immediate and obvious pressures, but the long-term challenges our world faces, they haven't gone away. Of those, one of the most important is the climate emergency. That has not waned at all. And as we seek to revive our global economy, power is going to play a pivotal role. I absolutely believe that the call for that power to be more sustainable and lower carbon will be stronger than ever. We must shift the world towards a much more resilient zero carbon economy. As engineers and technologists, we live by science. And the science tells us that we must curb global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees C above pre-industrial levels if we're going to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. We're making sure that our business can be compatible with this future. And we're using our capabilities to play a leading role in enabling the vital sectors in which we operate to get to net zero emissions by 2050. This means targeting net zero emissions not just for our operations and facilities, but more fundamentally ensuring the products and technologies that we create can be used in a way that generates net zero emissions. That's a bold ambition. Our products are complex and critical, and they're among the hardest to decarbonize. But I absolutely believe that this ambition will drive our competitiveness for the future. And for me personally, that's a very exciting challenge. We're pushing the boundaries of technology, and we're imagining whole new systems for powering and connecting society. Not many people get to live through a time of fundamental change in human behavior, and even fewer are in a position to be able to influence that change. And we at Rolls-Royce are privileged to be in just that position.
Hello, everyone. My name's Alicia, and I work in the Central Sustainability team at Rolls-Royce. Um, and so it's my job and our job in our team to try and make Rolls-Royce a more sustainable company. And one of the big projects that we're working on that I want to talk to you about today is what you can see here, our commitment to net zero carbon by 2050. I'm hoping a lot of you have probably heard of net zero by 2050, but I'm sure you all will have heard of the impacts of climate change and our global need right now to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and carbon dioxide emissions. We need to stop pumping these into the atmosphere because these are choking our planet and causing global warming. So I'm sure you all know a lot about that. And so net zero, the commitment to net zero is basically the nations and businesses and everyone's kind of big commitment to say, right, the way that we're going to help slow down climate change and help fix these issues is by stopping pumping these emissions into the atmosphere by 2050. But one of the key questions that we have to think about here and how we're going to do this is how are we going to do this at the same time as continuing to do a lot of things that we like doing today. So for example, when you go on your holidays, when you go traveling, you'll often use a plane or a car or a train. And also, when you're heating your homes or plugging your phone into the wall, all of these things need they all need power. And obviously now that power needs to be sustainable. And at Rolls-Royce, this mission is actually sitting at the heart of what we do now. So it is our very core purpose now to find sustainable power solutions, and Rolls-Royce's part of that is finding the technology solutions to do that. And Rolls-Royce, as the videos were saying, has this key part to play in that, because at the moment, a lot of the technologies that we are using around the world that you've probably used without realizing, like our planes and our ships and trains, and also our energy generators that we need to heat our homes, a lot of these technologies at the moment are currently using fossil fuels to power them. And you all probably know fossil fuels, when we burn them, those are the things that are choking the planet. So again, this is why it's our mission at Rolls-Royce now to find the technology solutions for planes, ships, rail, for energy generation that's sustainable. And you guys are all very young, you're in your prime, and you're probably all super smart and love innovating, I hope. And so you might be thinking, what are the key technologies that I might want to learn about today so that I might be able to work at Rolls-Royce in the future? And so I'd give you two key themes, two key tips, I guess, to maybe focus on. One of them is electrification. So you probably would have heard your parents talking about an electric car. Should we get an electric car? Actually, the whole industrial sector is looking at how can we electrify the technologies that we currently have today. And actually, Matthew, who's speaking after me, is going to talk about one of the coolest innovations that we have at Rolls-Royce, which is our all-electric plane. And the second cool technology theme that I want to talk to you about is sustainable fuels. Now, this might not sound as exciting as electrification, but let me tell you, it's actually really cool, because what it is we say we can't use fossil fuels anymore. We've got to use a different type of fuel. Could we magic up synthetic fuel that we could put into these technologies? And so if you like chemistry, biology, physics, anything like that, then you might like the fact that it is our crazy scientist brains in the company right now coming up with these sustainable fuels that we might be able to use in our technologies. So all of those things are really helping us to decarbonize our current technologies. But at Rolls-Royce, we're not just we're not just quite happy with just decarbonising or, making more sustainable these technologies. We also thought we'd create a whole new set of technologies. And there's loads of them, but I'm going to tell you about two really cool ones. Actually, if we could go to the previous slide, then I'll show you these. This is the Rolls-Royce microgrid, and the official techie term for microgrid is electricity distribution systems. But basically, what it is a big box that's got three key things in it. One, a power source, so your solar panel, your wind turbine, whatever it is to get your power. The second thing is energy storage. And then the last thing is kind of like a brain that allows their energy to be stored and released in a controllable way. And these microgrids are, I think, really cool because they can be used in places where people don't currently have access to electricity today. So you could, for example, plonk one of these microgrid boxes onto an island state or onto a remote part of Africa, for example, and then that will give a community access to clean electricity. And the second cool technology, go to the next slide, please, is our small compact nuclear power stations. So these basically provide a lot of clean power really quickly and at an affordable price. And so again, these can be used in places where you need a lot of electricity and maybe they don't have access to clean electricity right now, and they can be used straight away. So the two kind of the theme that runs along these technologies and why I've picked them out as the cool ones is because they kind of combine the two really core parts of sustainability. So one, we've got to make sure we're helping the planet, but then two, we've also got to make sure that those technology solutions are also the ones that are helping people. And so if we can put those two key things together, then that's the kind of sweet spot for sustainability. So just to finish off, I think my tip to you would be, if you want to save the planet, which hopefully you do, I think that innovative technology solutions and becoming an engineer, an innovator, scientist is a really cool way to do that. Thank you very much.
Aviation's around 2.5% of carbon emissions. The pressure to go away from a fossil fuel source to another technology, largely electric, is overwhelming.
Social connections and movement of goods and technology and people that we can do through flying is fantastic, and we have to find a way to decarbonise that but without losing those social goods.
The reason we're championing electrification in aerospace is we see it as part of our overall strategy. Develop the gas turbine, champion electrification and also sustainable aviation fuels. We're going to need all three to go to zero carbon.
The project that we're undertaking is all about making a plane go very, very fast. And as part of that, we're investing in new technology that we hope is going to enable cleaner, more sustainable aviation. But we also hope is really inspiring. This is about how do we start to champion electrification in aerospace? So how do we show people what is possible? So one of the great points of Rolls-Royce in our heritage is the Spitfire, and of course the Merlin and then Griffin engine that went into that aircraft. And that engine owns its heritage to a point where Rolls-Royce invested in the R engine, pioneering an engine to break airspeed records.
Rolls-Royce bring centuries worth of aviation excellence, and combining that with Electriflight's pace, agility, hopefully this will be sort of one of the first aircraft that is known as being innovative in electrification in this century.
Project Axel's been going for 3 years now. I was there from the very beginning. Lucky enough to be around when the first people started talking about the concept.
It was 3 people walking into this very building, sat down, got the laptops out and started work, and now we're spread across the 2 hangars here.
So our aircraft, the Spirit of Innovation, is a unique aircraft that we developed specifically to go break the airspeed records. We knew from the beginning it would drive us to think differently, to have to work differently, to have to innovate differently.
It is one of the most complex kit aircraft that is out there.
So we've got 6,000 battery cells all connected together to electric motors to deliver more than 500 horsepower. But the project's not just about going fast. The project's about the innovation, about the technology that it takes to go fast. And we're really proud that actually our project overall is going to be net carbon neutral.
It's about inspiring a generation of people and proving that electrification and that strategy is here to stay.
To get to this stage now, getting the team together we've got in Electriflight and have the involvement of Rolls-Royce, such an amazing project, so exciting.
One of the key milestones of the project is the taxi test.
This is an incredible time for the project. The first taxi, the aeroplane moving under its own power for the very first time.
It's the pilot and the aircraft on their own, the aircraft moving under its own power.
Which is a huge milestone for any aeroplane in its travel. We're at the very edge of some incredible technology.
The rest of the team will be looking at data on our telemetry system, but really it comes down to, have we built an aircraft that can do what we said it could do?
We're entering an incredible phase over the next few months, and then we first fly. I'm often asked what this project means and this step means as part of that journey for the next generation. And to be able to look my own children in the eye and say I'm sustainable, I'm driving to carbon zero in Electriflight and Rolls-Royce doing that, doesn't get any better than that.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today, and let me talk to you a little bit about this fantastic project we're doing at Rolls-Royce. So on your screen, hopefully you can see a little bit of a video at the moment of what we believe is the future way you're going to travel around cities. This vehicle you're seeing flying is air taxis. This is a great new way for us to move around rather than sort of staying congesting and creating more problems on the ground. How do we start to fly through the air? But what's even more impressive about this aircraft is it's completely all electric. So this aircraft is powered by batteries, by energy that we can derive from clean sources such as wind turbines and everything. We sort of know about renewable energy. And this is an aircraft that's not too far away either. This is an aircraft that we want to have in the air into 2024, 2025. So before people have left school, going to university, before that time, this aircraft's going to be in the air and you're going to have a chance to fly on it here in the UK. It seems like a big change, right? It's we don't see these around. We see them in movies, but how close are they? Do you believe me? And you're probably right to doubt me about whether this is going to happen, but it is, and as Rolls-Royce, we're committed to making this happen. I just want to explain to you why we have that confidence. If we jump to the next picture, please. So if you go back and you go back, okay, I'm going to go back a long way. I'm going to go back more than 100 years, but this is a street scene in 1895, and if you look at this picture quite quickly, you'll see it's quite different to what we're used to today. But there's one part of this picture that's different. There's one part that doesn't fit with the rest, and I'm going to make it a little bit easier. So if we go to the next picture, I've blown up a couple of bits for you. What you'll see on the next picture is there's actually a car. So in the middle of the picture, while everyone else is traveling around on horse and carts and sort of bustling, walking up and down the streets, there's one family on a car. And what I love about this is not just is the fact that they're there and they're testing new technology and they're doing in the midst of everyone else and they're showing the change. It's, if you look to the right of the picture, it's the people who have just stopped. It's the people who maybe were on their way to work, maybe they were going shopping, they're going to go see friends, but they've just stopped and they're staring at this car going, what is that? I've never seen one of these before. How is that going to change my life? And they can't keep walking, and they had to stop and look at it. And what I hope happens next is they run across the road, they dodge between the horse and carts, they get to the car and they go,
I want to be part of this. How do I get one of these? Now, I don't know what happens next on this picture, unfortunately. But what I do know is that if you jump forward just a short sort of 20, 30 years, you'll see on our next picture, what we've got is another street scene now. This is 1925. This is London. This is Piccadilly Circus. It's now Spot the Horse. So we've gone from this kind of, everybody on a horse and cart walking around, and in what is really a very short time, all of a sudden everyone's in an automobile. Now you can spot the horse. Maybe I should have picked a better picture. The horse is actually right in the middle. There's one guy with a horse and cart who's just stubbornly not going to change. But everyone else, we've got buses, we've got vans, we've got cars. People are adopting this technology, and so in such a really short time, the way that we've moved around, the way that we've traveled is just fundamentally changed. Now, why am I talking to you about 100 years ago? If we jump to the next picture, so something else that was going on 100 years ago was air racing. So this really started in the sort of 1920s and 1930s, and one of the key cups people used to race for around and chase was something called the International Schneider Trophy. Now, this was the Formula One, Formula E of its day. This is what everybody spent all their money on, invested in, and this is where you saw the latest technology. And this aircraft here that we see in the picture is called a Supermarine. So this is a UK British derived aircraft with a Rolls-Royce engine up front. And in 1931, it went and set the world speed record at more than 300 miles an hour. And if you go to the Science Museum in London, you can see this aircraft on display. The UK that year won the Schneider Trophy for 3 years in a row, which means we own the Schneider Trophy in perpetuity. That's in the Science Museum as well. But what I love about this time is what happened was it was a really small team dedicated to this single purpose of we want to go fast, and in doing so, just a tremendous amount of innovation, a tremendous amount of focus on science and on technology happening at real pace, because they had this impetus, they had this thing they wanted to go win. There was this race that they were chasing after. So lots and lots of pioneering innovation here. And as we start to think about those air taxis again, and we start to look forwards, and we could jump to the next picture, please. So we start to jump forwards, then we at Rolls-Royce wanted to think about, well, how do we go inspire you that those air taxis are coming? How do we go demonstrate to you that the technology is real and that we're on a path to it? And we thought, well, what better way than to go and try and break an airspeed record? So this aircraft that you can see on picture now is called the Spirit of Innovation. It's an aircraft we spent 3 years building with a single purpose of just going as fast as it possibly can, and we're targeting going more than 300 miles an hour. So we have 400 kilowatts of electrical power, which is about 500 horsepower, which is just a little bit less than a Formula E car. But of course, don't forget, we're going to go flying in this aircraft. We've got to go take off, and we've got to manage, of course, the weight of taking off. We've got 6,000 individual battery cells in that battery pack. That's the sort of black box you see behind the propeller. So we spent a lot of time thinking about chemistry, about how you integrate batteries together, how you do that safely, how you do that light, how do you keep it cool. Lots and lots of engineering challenges that our teams have to focus on to really bring this aircraft to light. And what I love about this as well is that the team of engineers and scientists that we've had have all come from completely different backgrounds. We've got people who left school when they were 16. They went into apprenticeships. They went to work in motorsports. They've got people who've trained as pilots at a very young age and have just been so inspired about electrification. We've got people who've gone much more traditional routes through universities, through graduate schemes. There's just so many routes to be part of engineering and science in the future. And I love the fact that we bring all those people together in this team. Something very special has just happened, which is our aircraft has actually just rolled out to go testing. And I have a camera here that I could flip round, and I'd love to show everyone. And I'm just asking our director if I can do that, if that's okay, because I'm perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. So just give me 1 second, everyone. I'm just going to flip my camera around, and I'm going to walk you around and quickly show you our aircraft. So airfields, apologies, not always the most glamorous of locations, but always have the best technology, which is just great. So here is our aircraft, the Spirit of Innovation. As you can see, we've finished the aircraft. We're about to start to undertake some ground testing. So we're basically going through a stage of proving off all the systems on the ground before we then go forwards and look to flight test in the next few weeks. So our objective is to get our aircraft up in the air by middle of July, and then hopefully off for our record attempts in late August. So we're really trying to make this summer an incredibly special time, get the airspeed records, and then be able to shout and celebrate about them with as many people as possible, and hopefully, as we do this, inspire everyone sort of the innovation that's possible. Thank you so much for your time. I'll pass back to the next presenter.
Hello everyone, I'm Byron, I'm a degree apprentice, and I currently work in functional development with the team who carry out engine testing on all of our commercial jet engines. So the video you've just seen highlights the reason why we have to carry out engine testing, as well as the different types of testing we do in our facilities around the world. As a company, we must maintain our high safety standards and validate all of our engines so that they're safe to be used for our customers like you. So in order to be able to do this, planning is needed, and it's vital to ensure we maintain and follow all of our testing schedules. So these tasks range from organising which engine needs to go to what test bed, to writing the test schedules itself, which include things like the type of testing required, hardware and software requirements for the engine, what data to be recorded, as well as a lot of other variables. So as you can see, the image currently displayed shows our brand new testbed 80, and currently fitted to it is a 97K XWB turbofan engine, and that carried out our first ever testing in the new facility. And as the video previously touched on, the facility will be used for our UltraFan testing, as well as other future engines like our Advanced 2, Advanced 3, and our future hybrid or electric propulsion systems. So as our target by 2050 is net zero carbon, it was vital that the new testbed allowed us to go and get towards this goal. So with our game-changing technologies like the electric propulsion system still being developed, the aviation industry needed innovative solutions today. So as seen in the video, the testbed is equipped with a 140,000 litre fuel tank for different types of fuel, including SAF, Sustainable Aviation Fuel. So this is a type of fuel which is produced from sustainable feedstocks and is very similar in its chemistry to traditional fossil jet fuel. And when we use SAF, we find out that it results in a reduction in carbon emissions compared to traditional jet fuel it replaces over the life cycle of the fuel. So what this does, it allows us to run our future engines on this fuel, be more sustainable for the environment, and by 2022 we plan to test the UltraFan on 100% SAF in our new facility. We've already proven that SAF works, as we've tested this on our Trent 1000 engine and our Pearl 700 engine, and it showed that modern turbofans can successfully run on it, paving the way to a more environmentally friendly future. And as well, the site has also been designed to have the capability to test the hybrid or all-electric propulsion systems of the future, allowing us to test even more efficient engines, which will then over time reduce our carbon footprint further. So I'd say highlights of the role have definitely been going on site and carrying out engine testing. It's been amazing seeing how the engine performs, as well as understanding why it operates in that specific way. So I'm passionate about reducing the effects of global warming and pollution levels. Being able to work on these future projects aimed at this has been amazing, and it's allowed me to be a part of the positive change needed for our future. And this apprenticeship has allowed me to develop a variety of skills, from technical to analytical engineering skills, as well as being able to problem solve on real life projects, and give me a broader and much developed understanding of engineering as a whole. And I've been so fortunate and lucky enough to experience current real life work and be involved with the teams which are finding new solutions to problems. So our future looks really exciting, and with all the new technology coming out to enable a more sustainable environment. And hopefully, as the years progress, you'll be able to be a part of this revolution and take your career into engineering. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abeda and I'm an engineering degree apprentice at Rolls-Royce. My role means I get to study an engineering degree at university along with getting real industry experience at work. This means that everything that I learn at university, all the different elements of aerospace engineering, I get to then go and apply when I'm at work and see exactly how it actually plays in the real world. Now, the reason I chose a career in engineering was because at school I used to really enjoy sciences and maths, and I wanted to pursue a career that would let me apply everything that I was learning and see it work in the real world. Now, the Rolls-Royce engineering degree apprentice actually lets me do just that, and being able to learn everything and apply it actually is really helpful for my learning. The most exciting part of my job, I'd say, is probably creating and changing 3D models of our engines, and also seeing how every element of our business works together to make our engines run.
That was excellent, guys. I mean, seriously, I really enjoyed that. I mean, it's so exciting what you guys at Rolls-Royce are doing. Let's get on with the Q&A. I've got lots of questions to ask you. I'm going to grill you guys properly because you brought up so many things in my mind. You know, I'm a traveller, so the idea of zero emission planes is so important. I think it's so important for our environment. And Matt, a question I want to ask you is, have you flown on a zero emissions plane before?
So I haven't, and I've seen electric planes fly, and it's really special. We've at Rolls-Royce, we've flown more than 1,500 missions now of electric aircraft, so we've got some plenty experience of doing it, and it's still great to see it every time. Though the noise is really a very different experience. It's still loud at the ground because a lot of that noise is generated by a propeller, but as soon as it's up in the air, it doesn't transfer the same way. The aircraft just sound very different. They sound very futuristic, but I can't wait. Honestly, I'm going to be queuing up to get in that air taxi in 2024 and getting a ride in it.
I'll be there with you, you know, because I think it's just, you know what, that whole story of the evolution going from horse and cart to car to these quad electric planes for me was really, really fascinating. And if that's our future, I mean, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Alicia, what element of Rolls-Royce's strategy to be a leader in the transition to net zero are you most excited about?
That is a good question. I think obviously, as you can see, I get really excited by quite a lot of it. But I think for me, it's that element that I mentioned of where we're looking for those solutions that will help save the planet, but also making sure those are solutions that help societies. So hopefully, if you haven't heard of these before, definitely go and have a look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So these are 17 goals that UN, global organizations have put together to say these are the things that we need to achieve to make sure that the world can develop in a sustainable way. And Rolls-Royce is aligning itself to these goals and making sure that all of the technology solutions that we provide also try and incorporate all of these much broader goals. So that's things like ending poverty, equal rights, and inequalities, clean power and clean solutions, both above and below land. So that's undersea. I don't mean in the Earth's crust.
Yes, I get you there, Alithia, and I think it's really important when we try to tackle climate change that it's done in this connected way, and it's also about fairness. Trying to do it in a way where everybody on the planet benefits, not just us here in the West. Matt, question for you, man. This one I like this one. This is from a student and says, when do you think my school bus will be replaced by an air taxi?
Fantastic. So at the minute, everyone's looking at sort of 4 or 5 seater aircraft. So when you think about some of the technology challenges we have around batteries, they are heavy. They're heavier than the equivalent amount of fuel we could be using as a sustainable aviation fuel, a SAF. But they're getting better every year. So at the minute, I think a school bus, it might be 2030, it might be too late. But could you use it to go? Could we get a 4-seater to do a small school trip? Absolutely, of course we could. It's coming along fast. What we're seeing at the moment as well is small regional aircraft. So the sort of aircraft that, not the ones we go on holiday on, not the sort of the big 80, 100-seater aircraft, but the ones maybe you see people using to take trips between islands, off coast and things like that. Those are going to move towards being electric as well, and they're sort of minibuses, and they're looking at around 25, 26, looking for having all electric versions of those as well.
Obviously, this student has probably got a runway in his back garden, so he's expecting to be picked up. But no, I think it's a fantastic question and exciting to see how soon something like that could be made into a reality. Byron, will electric plane engines be silent like electric cars? I know, Matt, you touched upon this a little bit, but maybe, Byron, you can expand on it as well for us.
So with electrification, it's like, take case in point with Teslas. If you've ever heard a Tesla on the street, it can be quite dangerous because you don't hear anything because it's electric. So a lot of our engines will be a lot more quieter. Obviously, there will still be some noise produced, but compared to typical gas combustion engines, the noise output of electric engines is heavily reduced. And as well, in the future, in flight, it will also mean that there'll be less noise from the engine heard in flight as well. So it won't be zero. There will obviously still be noise because there's components moving still inside the engine. However, the noise will heavily be reduced compared to gas and other turbine engines.
And that's such an important factor because, you know, the big, apart from the pollution, one of the big complaints that people have who live in areas close to airports is the noise. You know,
Exactly.
And if that can be heavily reduced, that improves people's quality of life in other different ways as well. So, yeah, thank you for that answer, Byron. Alithia, actually, this is kind of connected to that question, and that's, do you think the air taxis will be bad for birds? You know, I drive an electric car, and I know because it's quiet, I notice animals don't notice when I'm coming along, so I have to be extra vigilant when I'm driving. So, you know, what are birds going to make of this thing up in the air?
That's a great question. I think what I'd respond with is all of our current aviation, so the plane engines that we test at the moment, we do this testing experiment where we make sure we understand what would happen if birds got in the way, both from an engine's point of view, but also how can we put things onto the plane to make sure that it kind of is a distractant for the birds, so that they're not trying to come towards it, but they actually avoid it in the first place. And so I'd expect with our electric planes, we're looking to do similar types of things.
And thank you for that, Alicia. But Matt, I see you're approaching the aircraft. Is it about to take off? Are you about to have your first ride?
So we're not about to take off, but we've the pumps have just started up, which means we're working our way through our checklist for starting the aircraft. And just because we were talking about noise, I thought it'd be really cool. But please carry on with the questions, and if it starts up, you'll know about it because the propeller will make a little bit of noise. But Byron's absolutely right. The propulsion system itself is silent. It's just the propeller that kind of creates that noise.
Wow. Well, thank you for that, giving us that live view there, Matt. But yeah, the question I've got for you is, what lessons have we learned from planes in the past to help design our planes for the future?
That is an absolutely amazing question. Our aircraft that we're going to go fly, the Spirit of Innovations, actually, it's a kit aircraft we've built, and it was a kit designed by a fantastic guy in the States called John Sharp, who designed the whole airfoil and the aircraft stuff just to go as fast as possible. So when we look forwards to electric aircraft, we are going to design them slightly differently. We can put the propulsion systems in different places. We can put the energy sources in different places. You know, we don't have to put fuel in the wings anymore. We can put the batteries wherever we want to, and just run a cable to the propulsion system. So people are looking at really different sort of new novel ways of putting aircraft together, like that air taxi we saw the video of at the beginning. But the aircraft and aerospace is it's an evolution. You know, we build on the successes of our whole industry. So we're going to see some really novel concepts. We're going to see some aircraft that don't look too dissimilar as well. But I think that kind of works for us as people, right? Some people like everything that's crazy and new, and some people like something that's kind of just similar to what they've just flown on before. So there'll be a whole range of solutions across.
I guess the other thing is, if the design is too wacky, you might struggle to convince people to get on the plane, won't you?
That's always a risk, yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. Byron, are you 3D printing engine parts yet? And is this a sustainable process compared to traditional methods?
So it's a bit of a careful subject because obviously stuff coming out of the company is confidential, but 3D printing is a way of producing more of a sustainable environment, and how it's done and the materials we can use compared to previous methods which increase carbon emissions due to like heavy machinery. And as well with 3D kind of printing and modeling, we're able to design in a certain way which compared to previous production methods increases so many sort of benefits in design, weight saving, etc. So there'll be even less fuel being burned or needed, because if the whole engine weighs less, obviously you need less fuel to power it. But I can't really go too much into detail in sort of what we do, but it is definitely used in the industry. It's also used in fan blade construction and manufacturing, and it definitely is the route to a more sustainable future.
Thank you, Byron. Matt, I can see the propellers going now, but I can't hear anything.
So I now have a bit of a challenge hearing you. So as you can hear, there's still quite a bit of noise from the propeller. But that's an electric plane, 500 horsepower, testing, getting closer and closer to that record run in a few months' time.
Wow. Wow. This is so cool. No, thanks for showing us that, Matt. That is amazing to see that in action. Yes, we'll watch out for that. Make sure the plane doesn't take off while we're talking. But we'll go over to you, Alithia. I've got a question for you, and that's and this is something that I will really need, because as a traveller, I need to take this into mind. And that's what tips have you got to travel more sustainably?
That is a great question. So, as in, I guess that's the very question at the heart of our company at the moment, I suppose. And at the moment, we've got a solution for today. So I guess the part of that question is it's our job to try and make the technology more sustainable. And for yourselves, there might be coming to market soon an option for planes that you go on holidays already, the planes that we know and love, not the electric planes which are a bit further down the line. There might be an option where we can use sustainable fuels in the engines for these, and that would allow for about 70% reduction in the carbon dioxide emissions. And so when that becomes a possible option for planes, it might be that consumers have a choice. So you as individuals have a choice to use those sustainable fuels on your flight. And by paying into that, by maybe paying a bit extra for that, you're really helping to build up that industry of sustainable fuels, which we know is one of the big answers for sustainable travel on planes, certainly. But then, as I mentioned, we're already electrifying rail and marine and things like that. So there's also other options for travel, like using rail maybe instead of planes.
I guess that's what it's the key is having that option of being able to use alternative aircrafts that are more environmentally friendly as well, which we don't have at the moment. And I guess if we have that option, then economics will kick in, supply and demand. The more people start using those environmentally friendly planes, then the more likely we are to have them out there, isn't it? Don't you think?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Brilliant. But Byron, why did you choose an apprenticeship at Rolls-Royce?
Oh, good question. I'd say one of the main reasons I wanted to do an apprenticeship was I wanted to get the practical side. I wanted to work in a real engineering environment, plus doing my degree on the side. So what that does, it allows me to apply theory to the practical, and it basically consolidates my learning to a way that I have a better understanding of engineering as a whole if I was just at uni. And as well, what working for a company like Rolls-Royce does is you're working on real life problems. You're trying to come up with new solutions, and you're trying to work with teams to provide new kind of components, bringing out new designs. And if I just went to uni, I wouldn't be able to have that experience. I wouldn't be able to be working on current projects and be able to apply the theory of uni to the actual practical side. And I think as an engineer, if you're able to do both the practical, working, uni, theory, and combine the two, your engineering skills are going to rapidly develop if you were just at uni. And as well, what does help is Rolls-Royce obviously funds the degree and pay. So another wing as well with, I didn't want to pay the 10 grand sort of a year. So that was also another benefit of why I did it.
And well, I was also expecting you to say, and I will also drive a Rolls-Royce, brand new Rolls-Royce as well. That's why I joined in.
I wish.
Matt, you're back with us now, I see. And as I say, how do you make sure the planes are fully charged when you take off? And also, how long does it take to charge one of those planes?
So we can, if we would charge the aircraft in about an hour, so it's not as long as you think it's going to be. It's actually quite a quick process. We've got lots of instrumentation inside the aircraft. You know, we actually, for all those 6,000 batteries, we know the temperature of every single one of the batteries. We know the voltage of them. We know how much current we're drawing out of them. There's just a phenomenal amount of data that comes off the plane, and then our engineers analyze between every flight, not just, of course, to make sure that every flight is safe, but equally, how do we going to make sure that we get the fastest possible speed out of the aircraft? So the pilots, I mean, we're all jealous of the pilots getting to go inside and fly it, but we're the sort of there with them all the way through. It's very much like Formula One, where you have the team analysing the data as they go.
Brilliant, brilliant. Alicia, just one more question actually for me is, when do you think the whole world will go electric?
Oh, that's such an exciting question, isn't it? Well, I think at Rolls-Royce we talk about how in 100 years' time the world is going to look completely different from how it looks now, and so maybe it won't be fully electric then. But I think that's what we often talk about, is this kind of 100 years time vision of, you know, all of these things that we've shown you today in the videos, the taxis going up in the air, the electric taxis, and on the ground, the trains and the planes and the ships, etc. So I think it might not take that long to get there, but I can see kind of that future existing in 100 years, when it's kind of that full scale, everyone's on these amazing new technologies.
I hope we can fast track it and make it get to maybe 20 years, you know what I mean? I'd love to see it in my lifetime anyway, and stuff. But guys, Alicia, Byron and Matt, thank you so much for this. It was absolutely fascinating. You guys were really, really brilliant. And, you know, congratulations and good luck with everything you guys are doing at Rolls-Royce. Thank you.
Thank you.